welcome to episode 33 of the Hip Hop Orchestra present. I'm joined by a really good friend of mine, founder of SparkedEcho, Kevin Grist. How are you?
Hey, Georgio. Yeah, I'm doing really well. It's pretty hot though, isn't it?
Tell me about it. It's so hot, isn't it? We were just saying before the podcast, it's actually been a really long time, hasn't it, since we caught up last?
Yeah, it must be months and months and months. And certainly because of lockdown, we haven't been able to kind of meet up properly in London and stuff. So yeah, no, it's been a while.
It's been a while. But how's lockdown been for you, though? You've been busy?
Been busy. I mean, I have to say at the beginning, we were looking at, we were really worried that the company was going to have to shut in the first few months because it was cancelled and shut down. But bizarrely, towards the summer, we've just been inundated with bits to do. So it's kind of turned itself around for us. I mean, I know that's not the same story for everyone in the arts, but for us at the moment, it's looking all right.
That's brilliant. And you obviously, we'll get into what you're working on in a moment, actually. But let's take it back to actually how we met years ago. It was through Twitter, wasn't it, that you met?
Yes, it probably was Twitter, wasn't it? Years and years ago. And then we got chatting about your projects with the orchestra and stuff I was doing, and we just got chatting, and then we had lots of kind of similar interests. So yeah,
it's been a long time, hasn't it? And obviously you work on your own company, SparkedEcho, don't you? And I want to actually get into that, actually, how you created it and what it's all about. Let's take it back to the beginning of SparkedEcho.
Oh God, yes. So SparkedEcho is 5 years old. It was co-founded by myself and my partner Janet, and the whole ethos of SparkedEcho is we're using sound-based arts as a tool for social change. We do a lot of work in Kent and Sussex predominantly, but also elsewhere. And we do a mixture of professional events and composition work, but also lots of community projects as well. So a real mixed bag, but we've been doing some really weird and wonderful stuff through those 5 years. But that's how it came about. And originally when I set it up, it was as a consultancy to do things like fundraising for people and those kind of things. And and if I'm honest, I absolutely hated it, and I wanted to get back to my roots of being a creative. So through this company, the company's evolved as I have, and we're doing much more creative stuff now.
That's fantastic, because I'm glad you mentioned about the consultancy side of things, because before that, you used to work at the Arts Council, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I've been on and off at the Arts Council for the last few years. I'm actually on a part-time temporary position there at the moment as well, during this really crazy period on top of everything else. But yes, I was a music relationship manager at ACE several years ago, and I'm currently there and working with the sort of music education team as well. So I keep going, and then they keep pulling me back for bits of work.
That's that's brilliant. But how's the kind of music education sector been during this time for you? It must be quite a difficult thing to work on at the moment.
Yeah. So with Arts Council, we work with music education hubs, as I'm sure you know about in London as well, Georgio. And one of the obvious things is that all the schools have been shut mostly, and the direction has been that nobody can come in externally and do sessions. And music is traditionally has been quite a physical thing in a room together, and so it's been really difficult. And I think what I've seen a lot of music educators do is have to adapt very quickly to teach online. And for those who've already been doing it, it's been a kind of smooth transition. But I've seen a lot of other more traditional musicians really struggle with it. It's been a quick sort of steep learning curve for a lot of people.
Yeah. How did you find that kind of transition going from, say, going out all the time, doing a lot of work, to kind of predominantly doing it at home? How did you find that kind of transition? Was it difficult for you? Was it quite an easy thing for you?
I think I personally found some of it absolutely difficult. I think I'm a real people person, so I think I really enjoyed traveling. I used to go on the trains daily, and so being stuck indoors was an absolute killer for me. I got bored. I felt I needed to exercise, all those kind of things. So your mental health wasn't great for the first few weeks. But I think because a lot of my workshops that I deliver have been online or using digital tech, I was able to make the transition okay. I think But I have to say, I find the Zoom thing an interesting one. I don't know how you feel about it, but I find it exhausting and tiring to constantly have to look at people on the flat screen and to look at yourself. It's like you're looking at yourself in a mirror. So there's a
Yeah.
whole thing there that we're getting used to, isn't there? But
Yeah.
but that said, I've seen some really interesting stuff on Zoom with music and dance and other art forms. So I think creative people will find creative ways of working within this restriction at the moment. But I didn't find it easy to begin with.
Yeah, because I've spoken to a lot of people. Obviously, I mentioned before about doing all these episodes now, and a lot of people have said the same thing actually about the Zoom thing, where they are it's kind of like Marmite, isn't it? You either love it or you hate it. And but I agree with what you say that it can be very exhausting, especially if you do it all day, like looking at yourself plus someone else on the screen all day. See, I found it, me personally, I found it completely fine. But I know how you mean that if you're doing it all day, every day, it's not the same thing as seeing people in the flesh, is it really? And having that kind of one-to-one or that kind of group setting, is it really? But have you got a train recently, actually, over the last sort of couple of weeks?
I think I got one train a few weeks ago, and I had to wear a mask, and it was absolutely empty. And
Yeah.
just felt completely like a different world.
Isn't it?
Have
'Cause
you?
like literally 2 weeks ago, as of this podcast, I got a few trains actually for the first time in literally since I think sort of January, sort of February time before the whole lockdown period. And for someone like yourself as well, like I was like you, I was getting trained all the time, every time, at least once or twice a week for meetings or seeing friends and stuff. But to get a train after so long, I personally felt really scared to get the train because I was so used. Obviously, I'm a very introverted person, so I find being at home completely fine. But getting a train after so long, I loved getting trained before, but I was really scared getting the train this time round. It scared me, but I found it really busy actually when I got a train.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was packed. Like literally both there and coming back was packed out for me. Thinking I want I want to get off the train as soon as possible now, really. But like yourself, I wore a mask and it was fine. But yeah, it's a very weird situation, wasn't it? Something that what we got so used to doing before, then suddenly going into this situation. I got really scared, but it was fine in the end. But how has business been for you since lockdown though with SparkedEcho?
It's been a bit of a roller coaster. So I think I mentioned to you before, we felt like we might have to shut because everything was cancelled. So as soon as the lockdown happened, all of our things are being cancelled. But in the last couple of months, we've managed to secure some of the government support and Arts Council support, and really thankful for that, and some other small grants. And more recently, Medway Council has we've pulled some money together from both of our pots to create this a brand new digital festival for Medway called Electric Medway, which I can tell you about shortly. But and that has generated a load of work for us, and I think it was just being at the right time, being there at the right time with the skills that we've got. So we've already got a lot of digital expertise, so it's worked for us, and fingers crossed, that continues. But at the moment, we're really, really busy.
That's brilliant, because we were saying actually before this that you had to turn this electric Midway over so quickly. And how has that been for you? You're working so quickly. Do you find under pressure, or is it really like, I wish it's get over and done with now?
I really enjoy it. I think other people have to possibly stop me because I do overwork. I have a tendency to overwork because I think I really enjoy seeing something come to the finishing point of it. And I've been working on this project, on this festival for funny hours, early in the morning, late at night, weekends, and I'm not saying that's good practice at all, but the only way I've got around it is I've tried to walk everywhere. I've got an exercise regime in the garden at the moment, so I'm trying to keep fit and switch my mind off at kind of choice points during it. But that's how I manage it. I kind of do those exercises in between, but I think I like pressure. I work well under pressure and deadlines, and I think I'm one of those that just kind of almost obsess over it until it's finished. I don't know if you can relate to that.
I'm exactly the same as you. I'm exactly the same. But that's why you get on so well, because I'm just like you, where I obsess over something until it's completely finished, and I'm just like, yeah, I bet you're the same way. You can look at every single detail to make sure that everything is completely perfect, and
Yeah.
sometimes that doesn't work in your favor, especially when it's like to get things done over quickly. But
Yeah.
like yourself, that I'm a perfectionist, want to make sure that everything is right and perfect and in place. But I'm wishing you all the very best for that, though. I hope it goes really well, which you will.
Thank you.
Pleasure. But that's kind of going back a bit, actually.
Mm.
When was the moment for you that you decided to make your own company? Was it like a light bulb moment, or was it kind of like a gathering of moments over quite a long time?
Um, I think it was probably Arts Council, and probably prior to that, I did a lot of work with youth and arts, and I felt like, because I'd done my degree in music production, and I was very much active in the live music scene and composing music and stuff, and then I moved away from that, and I was much more around facilitating other people's creativity a lot, or then in Arts Council facilitating the funding of other people's projects, which I really enjoyed. But actually, I felt every step I was doing was going further and further away from what I originally set out to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I think alongside all of that, I've always been a musician and also other arts involved in them, but I wasn't able to do them properly. So there was a light bulb moment at some point. I just felt, actually, I'm not doing myself any good, because I'm not being creative, and that's me, that's who I am. So I just felt like this company had to give me some freedom, some control over me and what I could actually do with it. So, and the company has evolved. As I say, it started off doing consultancy work and fundraising, but soon realised that wasn't it either. So we moved into much more into the creative realm. But yeah, it was, I don't know when it was somewhere between Arts Council and just feeling like I was facilitating other people's stuff, that I just realised I didn't want to do that.
Oh, fair enough. That's brilliant. How about the actual name SparkedEcho? Where did that come from?
SparkedEcho, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
I love
God,
the
we had
name.
loads. Thank you. Yeah, we had lots of iterations of it. I mean, one of my bugbears with SparkedEcho is when people type SparkedEcho, the autocorrect spaces the two things out, and it's
Yeah.
actually one word.
Mm-hmm.
So that probably was a really bad choice on our part. But actually, SparkedEcho comes from the idea that the spark bit is about new ideas, so sparking up new ideas, new innovations, and the echo bit is that these things have long-lasting impact on people. So sort of long resonance, and I think echo is a kind of musical term too. So the kind of two things work together. Yeah, that's it really in a nutshell.
Brilliant. Excellent. And when it comes to kind of approaching different projects, have you learned over the years to how to deal with them under certain circumstances, or are you still learning as you go along? You see it's evolved over since you started. Are you able to kind of adapt to different projects in similar ways, or do you have to still do different things in different ways?
I think you definitely bring things forward from each project that you've learned. I've definitely, you know, at the moment now when we're doing things like huge large scale festivals, we've certainly got things like document templates and things that didn't work before that we just wouldn't do now. But I still look at each new project and go, this is a new blank canvas. We're still going to learn stuff from this, and we are definitely learning stuff from this even today and last week, from running Electric Medway. So I think some things you carry forward, mostly things like templates and structural stuff, and where you've had slaps on the wrist or things that you've got wrong in the past, you know you're never going to do those again.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm learning at the moment is things like how to put on live events outdoors in the COVID world, and liaising with councils and working out what we can and can't do, and also for SparkedEcho, it's a first. We've actually got two team members, two coordinators for the festival. We've never had to manage other people, so we're learning how that works. It's changed the dynamic of the team. So yeah, I always see things as a new learning opportunity, I think.
Brilliant. There's seagulls right there.
There
Yeah.
you go. I told you.
Perfect timing as well. But kind of going back to when you started the company as well, with your time at Arts Council, did that help you to start your own business? Did your experience help transition, gone from Arts Council to SparkedEcho? Did that help you to start the business, or did you have to like learn from the beginning of how to start your own business?
No, I think it was probably the Arts Council that gave me that confidence, because I was able to see how other companies run and how other organisations are set up, and I think I learned loads from what the Arts Council see as good practice, or the sector sees as good practice, with things like structures and policies and stuff. So there was things like that, and they gave me all sorts of training on how to read financial documents and all the business, business stuff, and so that all played into building me confidence to set up my own company.
Brilliant. That's so good to hear. And obviously, setting up your own business is not an easy thing at all to do. What have been some of the most difficult things you've had to deal with when setting up your own business, and then even running it afterwards?
Sorry, Georgie, I didn't quite.
That's all
It
right.
broke up a little bit there. Was
That's
it to do?
okay. Yeah, so like I was saying that setting up your own business and running your own business is not the easy thing in the world to do, which is why I admire you so much. What were the most difficult things that you had to deal with when setting up your own business, and then from then running your own business? What were the most difficult things you had to deal with?
I think setting up was going through the minefield of Companies House, which I know you and I have discussed
Yeah,
before,
yeah.
and it is an absolute minefield. Working out how to, so we started off as a limited company, and then we turned into a community interest company model after that, because that seemed suited for us. So there's all that stuff, and all the HMRC tax stuff, and accounting, which we were learning and training as we went along. Absolute minefield. Other real challenges, though, were things like just having space to work. So we worked from home, and Jan and I realised that actually this isn't a healthy way to work, because we have our personal life and then we have our work life. Luckily, we both have other jobs alongside this, so we do have some space. But it was really working out how that was going to work for us. So now in the last year, we've had an office space here, and we're about to move into a sort of studio space where we've got another sort of partitioned room, so we can actually do some production work alongside office work. So I think it's just about knowing where you want to get to, but also just appreciating that some of these steps are much slower and much more agonizing as you go along.
Course,
and sometimes you just have to put up with being at the kitchen table as well.
Of course. So how was that transition gone? As you mentioned gone from a limited company to what was it? Sorry, your limited company
to a community interest company.
Yeah, community interest. How was that transition for you? Was that a really difficult thing to deal with, or was that quite an easy thing with your background?
Surprisingly, actually, once you're registered as a company, the transition to a slightly different model is fairly simple. You just have to fill out a form and demonstrate what your community impact is. So because we do a lot of, as I said earlier, community arts projects alongside our professional work, that works for us, and you just have to do a report once a year to demonstrate what you've done in your community. So that's good for us, and that was a fairly easy move. What's harder for us is, I think, what's been harder for us is to demonstrate externally and on our website and in our marketing that we have a kind of community aspect to what we do. And we've tried to work hard in the last year in terms of the images we use. We use much more people images, and the language we use, the way we talk about the company. So I now say we do stuff for social good, and that starts to instill the perception and the right perception that we are a CIC. We've changed our domain name to .org rather than .co.uk. So all those things add up. So yeah, again, slow steps, but if you have a clear sort of direction of travel, you get there.
Brilliant. And you obviously gone for 5 years now, you said. What are the kind of future targets that you have for SparkedEcho? Do you have any in mind that you'll have to work towards?
World domination. No, I think definitely we're interested in having. So we've got space here in Chatham in Kent. We're also interested in having some space down in the Sussex area. So we've got 2 bases with a studio. I think we're looking at Hastings at the moment as a space we're interested in. To be recognised as a company that maybe does innovative digital stuff. And I think if this Electric Medway Festival is successful, maybe we can become the producer of that every year or every couple of years, however often the council may want to do it. That could be nice. Yeah, and just to be sustainable, I think have a slightly bigger team. But the ambition is just to keep going, keep having more bigger, ambitious projects, and grow our team. Really
Fantastic. And obviously, with your experience of getting funding for different things, obviously, as we both know, that's not the easiest thing in the world to get for things.
no.
For anyone that is interested in or needs funding for any kind of project that they might need, what kind of advice would you give them in terms of how to get proper funding?
Single biggest advice I always give is talk to the funder first. Have a conversation with them, build a relationship with them. So if you put something into a funder blindly and they don't know you well, they haven't chatted to you, I think it's a little less likely you'll get it because they don't know anything about you, and it's just helpful to have that chat. The other thing is there's loads of things you can do, but I just think make sure your budget, if you write a budget, that it completely adds up to what you say you're going to do. So the amount of money coming in is the same amount of money coming out, because a lot of funders don't like to see that you've got money left over. It doesn't quite add up. And I think be honest with funders. If you think there's something that isn't, if you think there's something you can do or can't do, just be honest. Don't try and overdress something into something much bigger when you know actually once you've got the money you can't deliver it. I think funders want to know what that little bit of money they're giving you can actually do, rather than say you apply for 5k and you say you're going to do this huge massive festival, but you can't. You're going to do a few workshops with that. So yeah, honesty, budgets, and I think have a chat with them.
Really, really, I love that. I love it. What have been some of your highlights so far within SparkedEcho that you've been really proud of?
Do you know what? Every time we do something, I always think, oh God, a year ago, I'd never imagined we'd be doing that. So really proud of. I think it was great to see. We did a project in Hastings last year called Beneath Water, which we were commissioned to create an interactive choose your own adventure game using sound. So it was located in an old town part of Hastings. I've never done anything like that, so I had to learn software and stuff. Really proud of that. And I think similarly did a project called Solace in the South Downs, which again was a collaboration with a visual artist, and composed some music using trigger sensors and crowdsourced sound from the public. Again, that turned out really well. It was a really immersive piece for galleries. And then COVID struck, and we had to move the third exhibition online, and again had to learn very quickly VR 360 software and how to place this thing in a virtual environment. And so proudest moments is just being able to adapt really quickly, I think, and learn new software. I think.
Amazing. What was that like to learn about VR 360? That must have been an incredible thing to work on.
Yeah, it was. I'm one of, like I said earlier, and you probably are as well. I'm one of those people. If I know what I want, I'm going to make sure I learn to do it, even if it's going to take me, if it's going to kill me. Georgio. But I just I went into obsessive mode, and I learned the software. And but I'm warming more and more to these bits of free software that are available online, these free platforms. So for this one, I used a platform called SeekBeak, which is free. This free version. And yeah, just it was great. I think a lot of people, it made it more accessible for more people because not everyone could get to the galleries. And I think being able to sort of scroll around this virtual environment and click on lots of additional content, we also used it as a way to sort of evaluate the entire project, because we had got loads of photos and voice recordings from people, and we chucked that all in this virtual woods. And I think it works as a sort of evaluation alongside being the third exhibition, if you like.
That's so good. I wish I could see that now, because I love that VR 360 stuff.
Oh yeah,
it's fantastic.
Well, it's on our website if you check it out. Solace 360. Yeah, it's still on there.
Oh, I'm gonna check it out then. That's brilliant. I love to find out from people as well, like from different areas, about how they kind of deal with being overwhelmed with work, because obviously I know how busy you always are working on such fantastic projects. How do you deal with being overwhelmed at times with doing so much work at the same time?
Yeah, I think we've all been in those places, haven't we, where you've
Yeah.
had multiple jobs and you almost freeze, don't you? You say, "Oh
Hmm.
God, I'm not going to be able to do any of this." I think bizarrely, what I do when I get overwhelmed is I stand up from the desk
Yeah.
and then I go out for an hour. It's the
Mm.
complete opposite to what you naturally should be doing. You feel like you should just be carrying on, but I go off for an hour and I have my lunch, or I just go for a walk, and I don't think about. I try not to think about work, even though it's the most pressing thing. And I come back, and then I feel re-energized to deal with it. And it's a really odd strategy, but I've adopted it in recent years, and it works for me.
Yeah. That's brilliant. 'Cause I do the
Just
same sort
walk
of things.
out the situation, because I think it gives you an element of control.
It is.
Um, so yeah,
That's
yeah,
right. Yeah, could kind of cut off there. Sorry. But I'm like, you've gone for a little walk and take a quick break really helps me. But you said
mm,
about control there as well, actually, and this your like you
mm.
about a project you mentioned earlier about working with other people for the first time, giving other people work to do. How did you find that for the first time? Was it quite an awkward thing to work on, or was it all
Yeah.
right?
If I could be completely honest, I've always done stuff on my own and for
Mm,
myself, or just with Jan, and um, I do find that difficult. I think a lot of people, particularly creatives, like to, unless you're really used to collaborating. I think
yeah.
you just sort of you're used to doing everything, aren't you? So I do find it difficult to delegate work. That's a flaw, I guess I have, and I think it's learning to know that you've got these other people who've got your back, and you can actually give them stuff to do. And that's something I'm working through at the moment as we speak.
Mm,
You know, with the team.
definitely. Would you like to do more of these things in the future for your company as well?
Definitely, I've seen huge benefits of just having other people, other heads, because it brings ideas you never thought about, and diversity to what you're thinking about. And also, I think so. For example, we've got a social media coordinator working on this festival. I used to spend all my time flipping doing social media. I don't get me wrong. I'm okay with social media, but I think it's a particular headspace you have to be in. I have to be on top of, and to have someone else just take that on is an absolute godsend. And there's one little wave that went as soon
Yeah.
as that was happening. So yeah, it's great. It's great to have other people that you can lean on.
That's brilliant. How many people are you working with for this electric Midway project? I keep it's Medway, isn't it? So I keep thinking Midway.
Medway,
Sorry,
that's right.
Yeah. How many people are you working with on that particular festival?
So we've got two other people in our core team at the moment, but we've also got what's great about this festival is it's created a load of little short-term bits of work for young people. So we've got a photographer, a video editor, we've got a team of about 10 volunteers who are going to support us for stewarding, and then we've commissioned about, I think, 13 different artists for work, and then another 10 we've directly commissioned. So we had these different commissioning processes. So I think in total we're going to be putting on about 50 different works or events
Wow.
from this festival. So it's a really good, yeah, we've pulled something together really, really quickly. Still pulling it together, but yeah, the ambition is that we're going to have over 50 events. Yeah.
That's amazing. Over throughout the year or over say a couple of years?
No, it's over 10 days.
Oh, it's just 10 days. Oh, wow. Okay. Okay. I bet I can shut this podcast off. Well, wow. 50 things over 10 days.
Yeah.
Or will it be like one venue or different kind of venues
No,
or
these are most of it's online, so
online?
it'll
Sorry.
be
Yeah.
released via a website. But
Yeah.
there are a small number of things that are happening in different sites across Medway too. So yeah, but
Yeah.
mostly online, thankfully
Oh,
this year.
brilliant. Kind of like leading up to this moment as well. Obviously, everything's a learning curve. And we all learn different things.
Mm.
Are there any things you kind of learned earlier when it came to starting your own business that would have saved you, say, a lot of time for the future? Thinking, oh, damn, I wish I would have done that, say, much earlier.
Yeah, I think for me, either the business or for me as a musician, as a composer, I'm only recently starting to get more into doing my own stuff and collaborating with others and taking on composing commissions. And I've done it myself in the background, but I've never actually sort of done it on a profession, as a sort of profession, if you like, a paid profession.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wish I'd done that earlier. I don't know what was holding me back doing it. I think it was the pressure of having to earn money and have a job.
Yeah.
And then I think the confidence thing kicked in, lack of confidence, because I wasn't doing it anymore. So I think I wish I'd done that earlier, not wasted time around the edges, if that makes sense.
Of course, yeah. And how would you kind of describe your sound? Because obviously you create music as well. How would you describe the sound that you make?
Oh, interesting. So when I was at uni, and I guess my default songwriting is indie rock
Mm-hmm.
music, but I do. So I play keys. I do a lot of synthetic sound-based work as well. So there's another strand of what I do, which is much more experimental. And I guess so. I could have indie rock in one hand, and then experimental sound-based work in the other. If
Yeah.
that explains it very
Mm-hmm.
well.
Yeah.
But I have been writing for an opera in the last couple of
Oh,
months, using some of those sort of sound-based techniques, but also having to consider the sort of operatic side of it, which I've never ever done in my life. And that was a huge learning curve too. But I think that was what I was saying. It's about now just jumping into the sort of fear zone and just getting on with it.
yeah. How was that though to work on an opera for the first time? This is a big learning curve. How was it for you?
It's been really great. So I was collaborating with two other composers, Anna Braithwaite and Gavin Alexander, and we're all very different in our approaches and styles. But we were working on about 5 or 6 songs. The libretto or the words has been done by Tanya Holland Williams, and just to have those words pre-written was a nice kind of creative constraint anyway to
Yeah.
start with. But we've used online platforms like Soundtrap and Zoom because we couldn't meet in person. So that was the thing that I didn't enjoy as much, because I just wanted to get in the studio with people.
Yeah.
But actually, we were able to make it work and have these regular meetings. And but artistically, really pushed me to think about different, particularly around timings, odd timings, and to really understand how to score for particular instruments like cello and operatic voice scales and that sort of thing. So I think that's been a great learning curve for me.
Brilliant. How did you approach it first? Obviously, it was new for you. What was the first thing that you went for when it came to approaching writing the music for that?
Well, we had so from the artist director, we had a slight kind of brief on the kind of sound world that we needed to create for each song. So each of us took lead in making a starting point for a particular track, a particular song, and then we passed it over to the others to add or comment on.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, my first one I did 2 that I kind of started on. One was I just created this really odd timing for the cello, and I just went against any of my inhibitions to create anything melodic and just started doing kind of breathing. It was a scene in a sense of a dreamlike panic, and
Mm-hmm.
so I was kind of doing sort of like
Yeah.
some weird sort of breathing over the top, and then I started thinking about the top line on top of that afterwards. So I think creating this very specific sound world, and the other one is it's like a Chinese or Japanese garden. It's very delicate. It's got nature sound. It's got birds in reverse and some weird.
Oh, wow.
It kind of goes from normal birds and then sort of transitions into reverse throughout the track. So very different things that I've never written before. But pleased with how it's coming out.
That's brilliant. Has anyone inspired you in terms of the composing side of things and producing?
Yeah, I think when I was about, I don't know how old I was, 12, 13, 15, 14, 15. That's quite a range there. I was thinking about the 90s when I was in secondary school, sort of 95 to 97, the later end. The X-Files was my big thing. And Mark Snow, the composer of the X-Files and the soundtrack, I just had a real thing about horror and B-movie type films and TV, and the sound that was created, the synthetic stuff. And I love more recent movies like oh gosh, there's been a whole tranche of sort of indie horror movies in recent years, and the sort of synthetic sounds that happen with them I absolutely love. Even like Stranger Things and those kind of things. So I've synths. I think Jean-Michel Jarre, big influence as well. And then more recently, certain indie bands like Interpol. I'm a big fan of Paul Banks's work and those kind of things. 'Cause it's very kind of unusual scales and timing sometimes.
Brilliant. And kind of adding to the same sort of thing, kind of going back to when you started the company to this moment as well, have you had any kind of, obviously you said you learned a lot through the Arts Council, which is amazing. Did you have any kind of mentors along the whole way as well to help you with any kind of bits that you needed help with?
Yeah. Well, Arts Council's really good actually as an employer, because when you get there, they do buddy you up with someone.
Okay.
So you have someone who checks in on you and make sure that you've done all the kind of induction processes and if you've got any questions and stuff. Outside of ACE, maybe back when I was about 18, 19, I was just applying for my first degree, which I got a place at Sussex Uni for music. And I was about to do it. And then I was also working for a council at the time just as admin in an office. And some lady called Jill, who was working on a multimedia community project, approached me. We just got talking in the sort of tea room area, and she said, "Oh, I'm looking for a young person who lives in this area and who does music and video and stuff." And we got talking. And I think she talked me out of leaving that job and joining her project as a freelancer. And I loved the job so much. I took it on. It felt so much like me at the age of like 19. Had this huge opportunity to do this multimedia work, and I deferred my degree. I didn't do it. I didn't start at 19. I ended up doing my degree much later, and I was so pleased I did. Jill was, I think she believed it. She had a belief in me that there was some potential in me to do it, and you need people like that to be looking out for you sometimes, to have those little moments where they steer you in a different direction. So that opportunity opened up, I guess, a lot of the things I'm doing now. It enabled me to do more. And I was there for 4 years. I stayed there for 4 years. I learned so much about community arts, about teaching sessions, about software, the whole lot.
That's brilliant. It's so true what you said, that you need someone to help steer you, don't you? And just help inspire you as well. So that's really, really good. And what I'd like to finish off on the podcast is kind of go through the best lessons that you've learned throughout your time when working at the Arts Council to creating your own business. So what be some of the best lessons that you've learned throughout these past few years at least?
Best lessons. I think best lesson number one is don't get stressed. even if your chips are down, times are hard, which they are for many people at the minute. I think there has to be a driving belief inside you that things are going to be all right at the end. I think whether that's through COVID now or whether that's just through getting through some kind of project, just have that belief. I think the other thing with the arts is perseverance, and you'll know this, Georgio. You just have to keep knocking at doors.
You have to,
knocking again, and then putting your foot in the door and not allowing it to shut. And that's just. And even if you're a pain in the arse to people, I think you just have to keep pushing and knocking and reminding, because everyone's busy. But also, I think perseverance shows a particular quality that people like in this industry. So yeah, perseverance as well. What other lessons have I learned? Have fun with it.
Yeah.
You get to a point where actually you don't need to be stressed with it. It needs to give you something back. And if it's not giving you fun back, then maybe it's not you're not doing it right. I think it's gotta be fun.
Definitely, 100%. I couldn't agree more with that one. On that note, I'd love to finish on a really good note like that. So before we go though, where can people find you?
Oh, well, not necessarily on the virtual realm of Zoom, but I think, so my company website, SparkedEcho.org, and the Electric Medway Festival is electricmedway.co.uk.
Oh, fantastic. I'll leave links below as well. But honestly, it's so good to catch up again, and best of luck with everything.
And you, thanks, Georgio, for your time.
Anytime, that's the end of the episode. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.